Going live. It's Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we were talking about upcoming animation that we may want to watch. All right, you said you had an opening bit, so go for it.
Okay. 1 second. I just want to scroll up to the correct spot in our previous chat so I see what shows were coming. Okay, here we go. All right. So, we have a official-ish Geek Nights Discord where you could come and talk to the other listener. And today there was, a discussion that started with evil people who are now thankfully deceased, but it managed to wind its way around to Denethor.
Denethor.
And someone incorrectly referred to Denethor as a king, and I had to correct him. That he was only a steward of Gondor and not the king. That's why it's called Return of the King. Because
there's a certain there's a certain kind of person for whom that is an extremely important distinction.
The most important. But even though I am such a person who knows a fact, right, like that, I actually did not know, though always wondered, how the hell did it end up that way? How did, it's like, yeah, I know Isildur was killed, the ring fell in the lake, Gollum got it, Isildur was the king at the time,
yep.
right? But it's like, why didn't just Isildur had children, why didn't they just become the king?
Yeah,
right?
I can come up with plausible historical things, but yeah, I never actually thought about that because it was presented as he's the steward now.
I thought about it often, and not until today did I bother to actually fucking look it up. And you know what? It's actually not as complicated as I thought it was. It's actually pretty straightforward.
Were his kids too young?
No. His one of his children, basically, there's Gondor, right? And then, Aragorn, we knew that he came from the north, the mysterious north, right?
Yep.
In the north is another kingdom, Arnor, right? It's another kingdom of men, right? That's why there were so many kings of men, right? Like Rohan is also men, right? And apparently, Isildur was the king of Arnor and Gondor. He was a king of two places. And after he died, his child became king of only Arnor. They were just sort of gave up on Gondor. His children just in the north, and they just didn't rule over. They technically were the kings of Gondor by, birthright, but they just didn't bother. They're just like, you know what, we're just gonna rule over Arnor and ignore Gondor.
This is already very Crusade. I've been learning a lot about how that kind of thing works thanks to Crusader Kings 3.
Yeah, so the steward of Gondor at the time just sort of ran the show, even though they knew they weren't king, but they had to do the king's work of managing shit, right? Government work.
Yep.
And Denethor was the son of the son of the son of the first, steward, whatever, right? And then, Aragorn comes out of the north. He was king of Arnor already, right? He's the king of Arnor. He comes down, and then he goes and he picks up the sword from the elves, and the elves are like, "Oh, you're the king of Arnor, down from the north. Okay, you want to be king of both places again? No one's gonna stop you." Bad guys. The end, and that's the story.
I will just never forget seeing the scene where Denethor comes to a conclusion. In case somehow
that was how the conversation started, because we needed the GIF for that.
Yeah, we did need that GIF. I look up that GIF kind of often because I will never forget the moment when the movie is serious, and that scene, just the way it was framed and the way there was a moment of silence, and then multiple people just started laughing out loud in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was that he yells and runs way longer than you would expect him to. So,
especially for a person on fire. Right?
Yep. Like, I can't imagine looking at layouts of that castle, how he made it that far to actually jump off the edge while on fire the entire time.
Well, the wiki that I was reading happened to also mention that Denethor was actually stronger than he, you think, right? Because you think about it, right? Saruman, right, was like a super strong wizard dude. Right? Like, damn, right? but basically he was just directly corrupted by the Palantir, right? Denethor was actually a good person and was way stronger, actually.
Until he sort of went crazy-ish.
Well, he didn't give in to Sauron, right? He's still like anti-bad guy, right? It's just he basically, became so depressed. He's like, nope, we can't win, right? He wasn't like, teaming up with the bad guys. He was just so full of despair. He's like, well, we can't win this, right? And that was so he wasn't weak, right?
Yeah, no, I see Gandalf. I'm reading the same wiki. Gandalf described him as proud and subtle, a man of far greater lineage and power than Theoden.
The reason he's messed up in the movie is because by the time you see him in the movie, he's already been so messed up, right? From, contact with the evil.
Yep.
Anyway.
So, in some news, we won't really talk about it today because it's kind of still coming out, and I've only seen tricklings of it, but the Nintendo Direct is happening right now, and there's usually good...
It's over.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to just ended?
It ended, then I came and started the show.
Ah, that explains it.
I told you that. I told you that before we started the show.
Yep. I'm scrolling through Twitter because I didn't see a good roundup of everything yet.
I'll give you the roundup. Ready? Here it is.
I don't care about new controllers.
Yeah, depending on what you care about, but the big Nintendo things is Mario Golf, which would be great if we were in college, but maybe, right? There's gonna be a Skyward Sword HD remake, but I have it on Wii, so I don't feel like I need to buy that.
I never played it, and I did see that one because apparently they're gonna have two modes: a mode with the motion controls and a mode where it's only buttons.
It's the kind of game where you play it once, you beat it, and you're done.
Yeah,
it's not bad like say Zelda Train game, but it's not it's not a top tier Zelda.
Yeah, Zelda Train and Twilight Princess were the only two Zeldas I ever started playing and just didn't bother finishing.
Splatoon 3 next year, 2022, was their highlight. Some Xenoblades characters in Smash with a really cute intro they had during the Direct. Here's something, I don't really care too much about Ninja Gaiden 3D games, but what they're doing is something I like a lot, which is instead of doing like an HD remake, which they could easily do, they're just going to sell a bundle of all three together. And if I was going to play those games, like that actually is like, oh, I might buy that. Not like Square Enix, where they're like, buy Final Fantasy VI, remake, whatever, on its own for a pile of money. It's like, no, how about you do this? How about you sell Final Fantasy 1 through 10 or whatever in a bundle, right? For $40 or 30, right? It's like, I will probably buy that, maybe.
I would probably buy that. Maybe,
right? It's like, so I kind of like that. That was in there. Capcom's doing a thing. There's a new Monster Hunter or something. There's a new people like that. I played that first. Was it No More Heroes? Right.
Yep. I saw the Triangle game. A lot of people are buzzing about.
Yeah, that's a Square Enix game, which is the same series as Octopath Traveler, except it's more of a tactics battle kind of situation. There should be a demo of it you can play today for free.
Yeah.
On your Switch.
I'm going to check out that demo before I say anything about it because that kind of game can go in a lot of different directions and most of them are bad.
I actually liked the Octopath Traveler demo, but I wasn't about to pay money for a JRPG that I knew I wouldn't finish. The demo was enough for me. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting because it was kind of long.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about bits in more detail on Tuesday.
Depending on who you are and what you care about, there'll be some things in it that you cared about and some things that you didn't because they rattled off a whole mess of games.
In my feed, like just people I follow on Twitter, if I don't look at it, all anyone was talking about was, oh my God, there'll be some Animal Crossing Mario stuff.
They already announced that before. That's not new news.
Yeah, but that's still what everyone was talking about.
They re-announced it, yes.
Yep.
I think the one thing that was new in that news is that they said you could put a warp pipe on your island so that way you can get around your island faster.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it is. That was good.
So, in some news, there's been a lot of chatter about Earwig and the Witch, the Studio Ghibli movie that it looks bad, probably is bad. I haven't watched it yet, so I'll reserve judgment. But if you watch the trailer for it, the animation looks terrible. Like, absolutely terrible.
I've actually only seen still images, and I knew it was a thing, and I knew it existed, but I don't even know. Is it out yet, or is it coming soon still? If it's coming soon, it's coming very soon.
It's coming, yeah, there's reviews out already. And
so it must be, is it out now?
I'm not 100% sure, because I wasn't really excited to see it, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't that hyped for it either.
But basically like
No,
just
we usually say you should watch all. Oh no, release date December 30th, 2020. So it's been out.
so the reviews so far have been like scathing is not even close to describing these review. Like I'm going to quote some of these reviews. I'm just flipping through right now. Earwig and the Witch, Studio Ghibli's first computer-generated feature, is an unholy eyesore. If nothing else, Goro Miyazaki's feature makes an effective argument for the magic of hand-drawn animation. What was the great quote?
Maybe that's what hand-drawn animation needed was bad CG. It's like there's plenty of good CG. We just talked about that Lupin movie, not the last Wednesday show or the
Yep, which looked amazing.
Right. It's like, CG isn't necessarily a bad thing, but maybe that's what they need to get more money into the hand-drawn stuff is examples of bad CG.
Oh, here's another pull quote for you. While Earwig and the Witch is far from the ugliest film of its kind, there's something uniquely perverse about seeing Ghibli's signature aesthetic suffocated inside of a plastic coffin. Like the lighting looks bad, the animation is stiff, like it looks like a student film from 5+ years ago.
I wonder what the backstory is like.
That's the thing that no one's talking about. I've seen fucking nobody talk about what I'm about to talk about. So
how did it end up this way? Was the budget way low?
The budget was basically zero. This was a made-for-TV movie with a tiny crew that, in Japan at least, is basically was talked about as like a proof of concept. Like Ghibli put this together with a tiny team to explore 3D animation and like do something. This is not a like full feature theatrical release like everyone in America is talking about it as. So everyone's comparing this to like all the other Ghibli films. You know how many people worked on this thing? It took a while to dig around because no one, like Ghibli won't talk about the budget or anything. Like I had to dig around for this. There are a grand total of, there are fewer people in the entire staff for producing this film than were in the sound department for the Lupin movie.
Apparently, according to Wikipedia, right, which has citations, if you trust them, it says that basically what happened is Goro said that his father, I'm reading from Wikipedia directly. Goro said that his father told him to go with it, and Toshio Suzuki encouraged him. But after that, he was left on his own and made the anime with young staff and didn't consult with the old guys at all. He also said that he is the only one at the studio who knows the method of creating CG animation. So basically, it was like they had some resources of Studio Ghibli, but just the young, inexperienced people on their own doing it, right?
Not even just the young, inexperienced people.
It was their first go at it, right? You know, it wasn't like they brought in people from the outside who had knowledge or experience in this area.
So here's something for you. I want you to guess how many animators worked on this film.
Animators?
People who are credited as an animator.
I mean, to make an 82-minute animation and actually deliver it, you need a lot. But I'm guessing it was way too. It's not. It's either way too many or way too
There
few.
is one animator credited.
Well, that's just not going to cut it. Right?
There is a character design.
I was going to say like 10.
The animation department consists of one character designer, one CG supervisor, one animator, and one animation director. That's it. Oh, and they credit a fifth person, but that's just the original character concepts.
So they didn't outsource anything. They didn't.
The production crew for this was tiny. The budget, as far as anyone can surmise, like the journalists who tried to figure this out, was tiny. And it was basically treated as like a made-for-TV movie and even by that standard, it's not good, but people in America are really.
If you get you get yourself and a few friends together, right, and you slap together 82-minute long movie,
like my hat is off to you,
and you put that shit on YouTube, that's pretty good.
If that was how this was framed to me before I saw that teaser trailer, I would have been a lot more sympathetic to it. The problem is
also, the Studio Ghibli brand, right? When you start this movie, does it show a blue screen with a Totoro on it? Because that's the problem, right? It's Also, the way it's being marketed. I've never made a shoe in my life, but if I were to, design a shoe and then I was able to legitimately slap a Nike logo on the side of it, and someone put the shoe on and broke their foot, and then the shoe fell apart, right? They would have a complaint.
Yep. But that's kind of the thing that I don't see everyone talking about. Everyone's just trashing this movie, and pretty legitimately. It's not good from any account, but they're also trashing it by comparing it to like Princess Mononoke.
That's because they put the same Studio Ghibli logo on it. They should have done that.
Not just that, the marketing. I don't know where the breakdown is, but at least in the US, like this is being marketed as the next Ghibli movie.
It is technically a Ghibli movie.
Yeah. So
maybe you shouldn't, this is why when you look at like other companies, right? Like especially, publishers in the book world, they have imprints where it's like, yeah, all those 10 different brands are actually one company, but they keep all those brands alive because, marketing reasons, right? That they don't want to be like, imagine if, like Penguin Books, they have Penguin Classics, right? Imagine if every book they published, even like some, sleazy new like pulp sci-fi thing, they're like Penguin Classics.
yeah.
And it's like something like that, right? Because they only have one brand. That's what Studio Ghibli's done here. They only got one brand and they slapped it on everything. And then it's like, well,
and the part I can't figure out is whether or not this was a situation of this just being marketed outside of Japan, like in the wrong way. Like for whatever reason, the decision was made to treat this as a Ghibli movie and push it.
I mean, you're not gonna make it's basically, if you just ignore it, right? You won't make any money. You won't lose any money. You won't make any money though. So if you want to, you're like, hey, here's a thing. We can legitimately put a Ghibli logo on this and say that, and some people will give us money based on that alone and nothing else, regardless of how good it is. Why would we not do that? We will make money.
Yep, but you might poison your brand or cause these reviews to come out about this thing.
There are already Ghibli movies that are not good. It is not a perfect run like some other people who have had a perfect run. Yep. So therefore,
is it that? Or is this some sort of like power struggle or passive aggressive thing within the studio? Like, did they set Goro up to fail?
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. It's just, the thing I'm annoyed about the most is that everyone who's reviewing it and talking about it does not at any point talk about the size of the production at all. I don't know if they just didn't like think to look.
People judge a thing. You just got to judge the end product. Right?
I do agree with that.
A different standard of quality, right? It's good or it's bad. It's like, even if it has excuses and reasons it was good or bad that are perfectly legitimate, it doesn't make it
well,
good.
that's it. I'm not saying that the reviews should treat it better. I'm saying the reviews should include this information.
Yeah, the job of the person is to say, look, you should or shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't.
Yep.
Of course, I don't know. Maybe they could all. I don't think they're wrong. I'm guessing. I haven't seen it. It could be good, and they could all be bad reviewers. Thing
is, if you watch the teaser trailer, it does just look amateurish. Like it looks like Toy Story, but bad.
I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's possible.
Yeah, but like by contrast, in the U.S., the budget for a movie is usually like very prominently featured in reviews of the movie. Like that's always a point that's brought up. As far as I can tell, Japanese studios, like Ghibli in particular, they don't talk about their budgets.
I think the reason that's a thing in the U.S., I think there's like laws or other some kind of regulations.
Yeah.
Just the way Hollywood specifically works is that information ends up being public. And the thing is, that's something I talk about a lot when I talk other industries, especially like Apple, Nintendo, right? Whatever. Well, Nintendo's Japanese.
Even my industry, like I don't have to tell you what the budget is for something I'm working on.
Right. They're so secretive. And I'm always like, why are you so secretive? And it's like one of the examples I can always bring up is like, look, the movie industry is not as much less secretive. They just you just know way in advance who's being cast for what's been optioned, who's budgeted for this. You can read all that stuff. It's all just out there, right? And it doesn't seem to hurt the movie industry, even though you know movies are coming way in advance. It just hypes them up more. It's like Apple. If you tell us what's going to be an iPhone 15 in 3 years, it's just going to hype people up more, right? And if that makes people say, well, if people start saying stuff like, well, you know what? If that's what's an iPhone 15, that's the one to get, right? Because 16 looks meh and 14 is meh. 15 is the sweet spot. Then just don't bother to make iPhone 14 and 16. Just make the 15 after you can see what people's response is to that, right? It only helps you to be less secretive. I don't think that and I really want to be like, I really, really want to interview anyone who has or does work at a secretive place, and get them to explain I'm not asking you to tell me secrets. I want to know your reasons for, like, Tim Apple. Tell me why you're so secretive. How does it benefit you? Show me proof that it benefits you, right? To be secretive, and you're not just doing it because you can. Anyway,
I mean, the real answer is we just got to nationalize more stuff and have a lot more government regulation on everything, of course.
Sure. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah. So you got some news?
Do I have a news? What was it?
We just talked about this. Crunchyroll.
All right. Yeah. So, we talked about Crunchyroll and Funimation merging a while ago.
Yep.
Right, under Sony or whatever.
Yep. The great consolidation of the anime distribution industry.
So I thought that at that, at what point are we going to see the complete merging? One of them disappearing, folding into the other. Everyone gets an account on the other thing, something like that, right? But until then, there actually, surprisingly, are still new shows being added to both services, Funimation and Crunchyroll, separately. And they just announced a bunch of new shows to go on Crunchyroll. And a lot of them are shows that you can completely ignore and should not watch. For example, there was one that I recognized from the olden days of anime. They said, "Oh yeah, Stelvia is coming to Crunchyroll," and the only thing I remember about Stelvia is that I've seen the DVD cover at Media Play and at the Anime Club way back in the early 2000s, and I was like, "Well, that looks like garbage, and I'm never gonna watch it." And
I didn't say it was garbage. My thinking was that looks like
it looks like garbage.
I thought that looks like an anime. Period. It was Stelvia, like Reiselmine, Scried, were just all these shows that I'd see and I hear people talking about in the club, but I just had no desire to ever even like look at them.
It came out in 2003, so I'm correct. But yeah, you don't need to watch that unless you really got nothing to do. But there were two robot shows that I was surprised to see on Crunchyroll, and I'm going to watch one of them. So there's the original Voltus 5, which is like a super old school classic robot anime that the kind of thing you'd never think you would see, released.
Yep. Like the robot literally looks like a toy with his fist out if you've never seen it.
Yep. So I'm really surprised to see that. And I'm going to probably watch some. I don't know if I'll watch every episode of it, but I'm going to watch some. And then Tetsujin 28, the oldest robot show, but actually not the oldest version of it. It was a later remake of Tetsujin 28.
Yep.
I don't know what year this one's.
Well, kind of like how the original Astro Boy, watch a few episodes to like get the deal, but honestly, the 80s Astro Boy is the one to watch for real.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know which one this is. It must be original.
This is the 2004.
Oh, 2004? Okay, it's not the 2000, because there was apparently another one from 2013 to 2016.
Yeah. What I'll say about Tetsujin 28, I've seen a couple episodes. Like, I don't know a lot about it, honestly. But
Gigantor. It's Gigantor.
Yeah.
Is the same thing. But
if you watch, like, I don't know, Big O or Giant Robo, and you want to know, like, where some of those inspirations came from, there is a straight line back to Tetsujin 28.
Tetsujin 28 was like the first robot show, like the first one, right?
Yep.
And it's the kid is remote controlling the robot with like a little remote control and such. And it's it's actually pretty good. It's so there's a lot of good going on there. That's what caused people to be so inspired and create an entire genre of robot animes.
Yeah.
So this isn't the original one, but it is the same storyline remade for the umpth time or whatever. So I'll give it a look.
Yep. So one really brief thing, but we'll skip talking about this in more depth until the main bit because it's very relevant to that. But BELLE, Mamoru Hosoda's upcoming new movie, a teaser trailer dropped today.
Yeah, we actually talked about it, and then the teaser dropped like...
Holy shit, does it look beautiful. I'm getting Summer Wars crossed with Beauty and the Beast vibes from this in a big way.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll talk about that more in the main bit.
It looks...
Such a coincidence that I mentioned the movie. I was like, what was that movie he's working on? Oh, right, BELLE. And then like minutes later, a trailer for it drops. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Did I speak that into existence? Like...
There's probably only like 30 or 40 frames of animation from it that you can even see in this teaser trailer. It does not give you much to go on.
Gives me enough to go on.
Oh, I've got enough to go on if this was not COVID times.
I'm first in line to see that movie.
Yep.
That's...
So, in some more industry news, I feel like on all 4 days of Geek Nights, we've had a lot of news recently about big consolidations in industries, because there's a lot of reasons why that's happening right now. But another thing that's happening is not consolidations, but a lot of big companies are shutting down parts of themselves, either that they had spun off or that they had acquired.
Wait.
Disney.
My recording stopped. Oh no.
Oh, what'd you do? You mess up. You messed up Geek Nights and put a marker in here.
I started recording again. This little hole.
God damn it! Send me 2 files, or send me one. Just drag them next to each. Send me 2 separate files. Actually, it'll be easier. I can deal. Don't worry.
Hold on. Export. I got to export the first one.
You doing that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then I'm gonna start another one.
Geek Nights, everybody. I guess I'll stop recording right now, and then I'll start recording again.
Oh, okay, that works. Yeah.
Yeah. So the secret for the listener. Oh, there's like 10 people in there. All right. So
I got to start again. Hold on.
yeah, the only way to make Geek Nights sound good during COVID is I hear Scott through Discord. And if you're watching the live stream, you're hearing the Discord audio. And a lot of times you complain and be like, oh, Scott's cutting out. No, that's not anything I did on my end. That's just because the internet is not always great with Discord audio. That just happens. So Scott also records himself locally. And I take that file and I line it up with the file here, kind of like how Fast Karate used to record themselves. And it's a super pain in the ass.
Now I'm recording a second file.
All right, I'm also recording a second file. We're good to go.
Right.
So Disney just shut down Blue Sky Studios like in the middle of a movie that they're almost done with.
Yes, I don't know if people know this, but Blue Sky is the CG animation studio
Ice Age.
that brought you all the Ice Age movies, and the studio was actually located, I think, Connecticut.
They were
right?
Yeah.
So it's like almost all the the animation stuff is going on, obviously California area, right? So this was sort of like the last animation place that was in not California in the United States. At least big one. There's obviously small ones all over the place, probably in New York City. There's still probably a few here and there, right? But not big ones. The big ones that are making the big movies, they're all in California. And so that was kind of meh because, usually when a place is closed down, as opposed to consolidate, they usually see on Twitter, oh, jobs, let's find jobs for these people, right? Because they lost their job through no fault of their own. They're not bad at their job. They're not canceled people, right? They're all quality animators. But here's the problem. They live in the East Coast.
Yep.
Right? I guess you can get remote work easily these days, I guess.
At least for now.
Right. It's like, if the job you have is somehow tied to the place you are, right? Or, and the thing is with animation, there's no reason that all the animation places should be located together, other than that makes all the people in the industry live in that place so that they can, all switch between the companies.
But it also makes it easier if you're doing that stuff to have a pool of people to hire. Like there's a reason why so many companies like Amazon want to be in New York City, because they know there's a guaranteed critical mass of any possible profession. There'll be 10 people coming to your door with resumes.
Right, exactly. So when a place is you have a business in a different kind of place, an atypical geography. Like I know there's like video game studios that are occasionally, they seem to actually be spread out a bit, right? They're not all centralized in one location.
Yep. There's like 4 or 5 nexuses of a lot of game studios, like Prague of all places. There's a lot of video game studios in Prague.
Carolina's got some, I think.
Yep.
Right? But it's like, if you have a business, if you bring your business to like a small town or a smaller city, right? Say like a Rochester or an Ohio city or something like that, right? And it's like you can sort of help that town a lot. You boost their economy by building a company there, by creating jobs there and such, right? And then if you're shut down though, it's like twice the pain, right?
Yep.
Not only is that place now hurt, but those people, there's nowhere for them to work because they're living in some small town, smaller city that you started in, and not living in New York City or LA where they could just get another job, no problem. So it's extra sad and damaging on that level.
Yep.
In addition to the normal level of, this art producing thing is now shut, and the art fountain is spreading out less art.
Yep, even worse here in this particular case. So, like, Blue Sky did really good stuff, like the Peanuts movie, which, do you ever watch
whether
that?
whether you liked it or not, right? Well, I'm not an Ice Age fan.
Did you ever see the Peanuts movie?
Which one?
The new one, from 2015.
I have not. No.
It's a real good movie. Like, surprisingly good. It's also beautiful. It's in a unique style.
Well, isn't all the Peanuts stuff on Apple TV Plus now?
I don't actually know. I saw it on a plane.
I think Apple TV Plus now has all the Peanuts licensed stuff, and I have an Apple TV Plus free trial for a whole year because I got an iPhone.
Well, Disney is absorbing all of Blue Sky's characters and IP, all the stuff that they like directly own. What's not clear is what's happening to the other stuff, because one of the things, if you're listening to Geek Nights, you've probably heard of Nimona. You might know that Blue Sky was making the Nimona movie, which apparently was turning out fantastic. Like, this was a for-real movie it only had like 10 months left in production, according to this article. And apparently with the change, with Disney shutting them down, Disney's not absorbing that movie to finish it. They're just canceling the entire thing.
Yeah, Mouse Guard movie got shut down too.
Mouse Guard movie suffered that same fate. We talk about this a lot. A movie does not exist until it is in a theater or published, because studios, there are entire ass movies that get made and then just burned. Like, that just happens.
I look forward to the people who were there, right? Indirectly or directly releasing the materials they did produce via leaks or their resumes when they're applying for other jobs. Their portfolios will contain things from the Nimona movie, and we can see them that way.
It's a shame, because I'm adjacent to, like, Emily. We know a bunch of people who, like, work there, and the best I can tell is that the Nimona movie was like an A+ movie, and it was arguably might have been the first like full-on theatrical movie that was just based on a webcomic.
Tough call.
Yeah,
maybe
that was that Mega Tokyo movie never happened.
No, good question.
Yeah,
but yeah, there have been more. There have been movies made based on, indie comics or less than, know.
Well, like Scott Pilgrim, the movie was made, and it was based on that very short comic run.
Exactly.
But a webcomic, like with a capital W, like what we think of as webcomics.
Right. Yeah, I think these days, I don't really put webcomic in a different category than just like, it's like you happen to put your comic, on a website, but it's like, I don't see that as any different than a comic, that's like, okay, some independent individual creator wrote and drew a thing and published it, right? And they happen to, whether you happen to put it in a book first and sell it at the comic book store, or happen to, like Scott Pilgrim, or, you get a deal with someone like, one of the smaller publishers, and you get it out that way, or you put it on a website. I don't really see those as different categories, right?
There was a time when it was very distinct, but that time looms large because it was an era when there wasn't much else on the internet at the time for most people.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's ever coming back. But like, I think of just Cucumber Quest, right? It's like, is it a webcomic? It came out on the website, right? But also, it's a book. It's like, it's a comic. Was it whether you published it which way doesn't change what it make it a different category than Penny Arcade.
What I feel like this movie might have done, though, if it actually
a different medium, it's a different genre, obviously.
Had it actually been able to come out, is I think it would have opened the door to more movie studios looking to dig through back catalogs of web content to look for stuff that they can fund and make movies with. Like, it would have opened the door to another content mine.
Only if it was successful.
Yes,
right?
of course, only if it was successful.
Right. It's like, I think that's sort of the thing is, you had your Scott Pilgrim. It didn't make that much money, even though it's sort of a
fantastic movie that became
it's kind of a thing, right?
Yep.
It didn't make a fortune necessarily. So it's like, if someone comes out and is like, hey, I made a movie based on some, indie comic, I found it, TCAF, right? And it's a big hit. Then you're going to see movie execs going to TCAF to buy something.
Yep.
Right. But until then, this is as far as it's gone right now, is basically Mouse Guard movie being made canceled. Nimona movie being made canceled.
Yep. Such a shame. But anyway, things of the day. So, what did I have here? Right. Shogi is a game that I appreciate. Like, it's, some people People talk about it as Japanese chess, like it's a chess-like game. If you've never played chess or shogi, it's like the Duke. But a difficulty that both chess and shogi share is that if you look at the board and no one has taught you the game, fuck if you're going to figure out what to do. Like, why would you know that the horse moves forward 2 and left or right 1? Like, there's no way to figure that out from looking at it. Someone has to explain it.
Yeah, you need a rule book or an explanation, and then you need to memorize the way each piece moves and associate those movement patterns with those symbols, which, it doesn't take that long. I was able to do it.
But it's a barrier to entry.
You almost never play chess, but I could teach you how to play at any time, right? Yep. So it's not complicated, but it is, yes, a barrier to entry.
Because when I was a kid, I was fascinated by chess because all the adults were playing it, so I wanted to play. But I couldn't even poke at it until I memorized all these pieces. So what I had was this little chess.
Checkers, you don't got to know nothing.
Yep. I had this little chess set that was like Othello-looking pieces, and they just had arrows that showed how the piece I was moving moved. Yeah. So I could dive right into the game.
The Duke, each piece tells you how it moves on it.
Yeah. So this is a Kickstarter for a shogi set, and the person who is pushing this, who had the idea, is Mamoru Kitau.
Okay.
It's a new Kickstarter.
I was hoping it was a Japanese person, so it's not a cultural.
So Mamoru Kitau is pretty famous globally because she is she's a Nidan, she is near the top, like the equivalent of a chess master. And her big thing is, let's get more people, especially girls, to play shogi globally. Let's get people to enjoy this game.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So basically, she contacted this person. You can read the Kickstarter to see all the details, to basically ask them if they could create a language-neutral, easy-to-learn version of shogi to make it easy for people who have never played it before to jump right in and experience the mechanics of the game, to fall in love with them.
Yeah, this is something, I've played shogi maybe once or twice, and I had a little paper guide that told me how each piece moved, because each piece has a kanji written on it, and I would look on the guide, say, oh, that piece moves like this, that piece moves like that.
Or then the pieces can upgrade, and then they move differently. Like the Duke.
And I didn't do that well, but it's okay, it's a game. I can see, it's not bad. But it's I didn't get into it. But it's whether you're a child who, like a rim child looking at a chess set, or even just an adult who doesn't know Japanese kanji, or even if you do know kanji, I don't know if that's, necessarily going to help you know how each piece moves. Right? I could make a chess set where it says just the word king is written on the king piece. I don't think that helps you know how it moves, right?
Exactly. Kings are slow and queens are just moving field artillery, I guess.
I don't know. But yeah, that's fantastic. I don't know why this has to exist. I can't believe it doesn't exist already. It seems so obvious, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing is, this isn't just, I have seen shogi sets and chess sets that have diagrams and things on the pieces. This one goes further, and the Kickstarter actually talks about why it was designed the way it was, to make it completely language neutral, to facilitate learning the game, but also, remember shogi has the board, there's a neutral zone and then the defensive zone and the attacking zone, but none of that's written on the board. You have to just know. The board itself is different to make it clear where the neutral zone is.
That's good.
It's little things like that. It's really cleverly designed. I'm backing it. And it also includes 3x3 and 4x4 little boards with slightly different rules to do young child learning, or quick learning, or kind of like how Go players learn on small boards and then level up to bigger boards.
Ooh, all right. I guess, chess, it's I've never seen smaller chess than regular chess.
The only smaller chess I've ever seen are chess problems, which you've got to be a particular kind of person to enjoy chess problems. I actually enjoy chess problems more than I enjoy chess.
Yeah, the only smaller chesses I've seen is just regular old chess, except the pieces are rethemed to be cute. I think I've seen a Simpsons chess set and things of that nature. All right.
So I think this thing's pretty neat.
So I'll never forget when we went to see in New York. We went to see Will Wright talk, the SimCity creator.
Oh yeah.
And in the middle of his talk, we've told this story before, but in the middle of his talk, he just stopped and just was like, "All right, time for the Russian space minute." And he told us the story of the Russian space program, of the Soviet space program, and then he's like, "All right, that's over," and he picked up right where he left off.
And the story was great. It involved a pistol, wolves, and teeth getting knocked out.
It was a horrific story.
It was horrific, but no one died, but it was horrific.
Yeah. But anyway, so here is something that's very Geek Nights. We often think when, government secrets, we're always thinking about U.S. government secrets, right? I guess occasionally UK government secrets, right? But you don't often think about like, what secrets does the French government have? What secrets does the Brazilian government have? I'd really love to know what the Brazilian CIA equivalent has in their secret vault. What kind of hidden knowledge?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just probably largely because of U.S. centrism, right? But even so, I think people are, when you think about government secrets, you're thinking about U.S. government secrets. They're the ones who know about the aliens, right? It's not the Norwegian government that's hiding the secret alien info.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched recently an old Unsolved Mysteries, and one of the big ones was the Belgian government is covering up the UFOs.
Nice. That would be awesome. I'd love to see that. Anyway. But here we have, in the U.S. more recently, not more recently, but over time, things become declassified, right? And we find out about them, and it's pretty cool. Even in, apparently, Russia, classified things can get declassified. And here are documents of declassified Russian space program things, not just rockets, but also space weapons. These are things that the Soviet space program was actually working on or made, and now it's declassified and released, and here it is for your perusal. Real stuff.
Fighting orbital laser station. Here we go.
Probably not made up, right? Definitely worth a look, fake or real.
The Spiral.
Yeah, the aesthetic is A+ no matter what.
Especially the ones where there's a photo of the prototype or the actual thing in some cases.
Yep. So that's my thing of the day.
That's pretty good stuff.
Declassified Russian space program biz.
In the meta moment, GeekNights Book Club book that I'm feeling inklings toward reading, The Tale of Genji.
Same.
Because it's getting cold.
We've said that for a few weeks now.
Yeah, but I finished those 2 nonfiction books I kept saying I was working on. And I had this sudden urge to read some science fiction. And I caught that and I said, whoa, it's time to read fiction again.
but not the first fiction.
Yeah, I'm gonna go read the first fiction.
The first fiction ever, because the book club book is The Tale of Genji, literally the first novel ever written by humans in the history of humans. Period.
Yeah.
Undisputed. No one's like arguing with that either. It's like it's the first novel. Yeah, there's older writings like, the Iliad or the Odyssey, but those weren't novels. So they're not the first novel. They were poems. Deal with it.
Otherwise, stay tuned for whatever stuff we get up to online. Follow us on all the internet places. Check out our Discord. Check out these live streams. And stay tuned. A lot of the big projects that we keep deferring will probably get undeferred at some point in a post-COVID world. But it's just too much of a pain in the ass to record video separately right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll get right into it. There's a lot. We haven't watched any new anime. Scott's not watching the animated shows that I'm watching.
Nope.
You really should catch up on DuckTales.
I'm gonna wait. It's DuckTales so that's one of the things I want to talk about. That show's over soon, right? And as soon as that show's over, I'm probably gonna go watch all of it.
Yeah, and I'm watching a lot of Disenchantment. I think there is going to be a season 4, so I can talk about it in the context of this episode. But take it away.
Yeah. So yeah, I said, hey, there's nothing that we've both seen to talk about, and we can't think of any general topics to talk about. Let's talk about what's coming that we haven't seen, right? We early in the year, when we did, wrap up of the previous decade, we could have easily copped out and gotten 4 easy episodes of like predict the next year, forward, right? The next year, the next decade in tech games, right? So this is sort of that. This is, hey, let's look at the animations that have been announced, we know are coming, and we are interested in seeing, and talk about what they are and why we're interested in seeing them. And that way you can know what sort of, basically, all of these things are going to have Geek Nights episodes coming up in the near-ish future, the next year or year and a half, maybe 2 year, right? So yeah, let's talk about some DuckTales. We did an episode on the DuckTales, the new show. When it first came out, we watched like the first few episodes, and it's on D+, I think, right?
Yep. I've seen the first 2 seasons because the third season is not on the D Plus yet.
However many seasons there are, the ending of the show is going to be like a month from now on March 15th. They're going to put out the final ending part. I think I heard it might be a little longer than a normal start, maybe. Like,
it better be.
It's going to be a big ending, like, ta-da, the end, right? So I'm going to wait for that. And then I'm probably just going to go back and just go whoosh right through the whole thing and all in one go.
Yep.
A few episodes a day till it's done.
Season 2 is pretty great. The show, like you saw you saw some of it, right? Like the first couple episodes.
3 episodes maybe. Yeah.
So you know how it was like funny, and like really like true to the ducks, but also like a little bit dangerous and a little bit dark. The darkness, like on the edges of the things they show on screen, only increases as the show goes on.
In like, a sort of a Gravity Falls fashion?
In some cases, it actually gets a little darker than that. Like, in the second season, I would say in nearly every episode, at least one thing happens where the characters, like it happens, and the characters react to it appropriately because it's a serious thing that happened, but the implication of the thing that those characters just recognized is far more horrifying than like the show got into because something interrupts them and they move on. The implications of what happens in every episode get increasingly terrifying as the show goes on. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a moment where a character dies and it's a whole thing.
Whoa. All right, well, let's focus on the things that are completely not out yet, right? So we already talked about Earwig, right, and how it's probably meh.
Yeah.
Miyazaki still is working on some mysterious movie that'll be out when it's out. Who knows when? I'm not too sure. Like, is it gonna be like? You can never believe him when he says it's the final one. He's cried wolf too many times.
No, like I get the impression the dude literally wants to die in the middle of his masterpiece.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to. He still smokes like a chimney, as far as I'm aware, right? So it's like. I don't know how he's even still alive.
It must be the monkey's paw. You will live to make your greatest work.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's the title of it, though. How do you live? Really is the kind of title you give to something like that, like a grand philosophical thesis to end your oeuvre, right? It's like, that's the kind of title you give to something that's like your last work.
I already felt like The Wind Rises was going to be that, though.
Yeah, I don't know what the Japanese title would be of How Do You Live. I don't know if it's a direct translation or not. But yeah, it's got it's like, I'm definitely going to see it whenever it comes, if it comes. If he doesn't make it and finish it, will it be finished? I'm going to lean towards no. If he does finish it, does he make something else? I lean towards yes. But yeah, it's like, who knows? Like, I guess there's nothing to know about it. It's just, you can't not mention that as the greatest looming coming animation that's in the world, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about something we can talk a lot more about.
Oh God, I didn't realize he announced this back in 2017.
Oh yeah,
when he announced that he came out of retirement, because I realized you still haven't seen The Wind Rises. You said I somehow assumed
I've seen most, but not all. That is one of the ones I haven't seen. Did you see Princess Kaguya? Because I remember I went to see that and you didn't.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
See, you haven't seen them all. I've seen 90% of them.
The Wind Rises is I feel like he wanted that one to be his last film, considering the subject matter.
Yeah, I know the subject matter, and it definitely feels like
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Science Saru, of course, is working on something because they're just going at 11 all the time.
The Inuo, right?
Inuo.
Yeah. So we saw a little bit of work for this during Annecy. There was like some preview stuff about it, right? But it wasn't anything more than like some, there wasn't much to go on, right? But regardless, obviously, it's exciting just based on who's making it, right? But
because Science Saru batting 1,000, everything they've made is just solid gold.
Yeah, and it's like, even though it was... Oh, isn't this the story of...
It's the child born horrific, and they cover whatever his deformities are with a mask, and he meets a blind... Yeah, that whole thing.
I was thinking of... the Tezuka one where the guy has like no body parts and he gets his body parts back.
Oh yeah, it's not
one.
that.
Yeah, it's not that one. It's a different one. But it's sort of, I guess, in that same category, right? Anyway, but yeah, that's that's what that is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right, here's something we can talk a lot about that's coming, right? So I remember when we were still going to Otakon, it must have been the late 2000s, right? 8 or 09 or something like that. And the first Evangelion movie, I guess the first Evangelion movie was some technically like, Death and Rebirth or one of the End of Evangelion. One of those are technically movies, right? But
yep.
The remake movies, right? 1.0, 2, 1, whatever they're all called, right? You cannot do whatever.
You cannot finish this remake.
Yeah, all of those, that whole series.
I have not watched even one.
I have not watched even 1 second of them. All I know is that they're remakes of Evangelion. The animation has, I guess, been updated with newer techniques and technologies.
Yeah.
There's a new character pilot who's purple, right?
And who I like that. The fact that they added that character instead of just doing the expansion of the characters that were originally intended for the original anime was what gave me pause to even like watch them in the first place.
Yeah, there were other students in that classroom in the original TV series that piloted. Anyway. But yeah, so my plan from that, even at Otakon, I had the opportunity to watch like the US premiere. I was right outside the room. I could have just walked into the room and watched it for $0, right? Because money I already paid to get there. I chose not to. I said, you know what? This is 1.0. There's been this pattern where they've released 1.0 and then they updated it a little bit to be like 1.0 V2. It's like, they did 2, and then they did 2, and then they updated that one.
Never forget when we watched Sailor Moon Crystal, they didn't even have the faces finished on the fucking characters when it first aired.
Yeah, it's like they're like each of these movies has been released and then had a second like director's cut-ish updated release afterwards.
Yo, dog, I'm downloading Evangelion 4.4-1 beta.
Right, exactly. So the final one, supposedly they say that it's done. I think we talked about that in a news item. And that one is called 3.0 plus 1.0. So it's not called 4.0. Right? It's called
Of course it isn't.
1.0. But there's going to be a 3.0 plus 1.0 director's cut, right? And when that comes out, right, I actually probably foolishly believe that the second updated release of this soon-to-be released movie will be the final one in the series. And then, at that point, I will watch all in a row only the director's cut ones, all 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to be bam, 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 and then we could probably get 4 GeekNights episodes out of that. We'll probably do a whole, 2 months.
Because you know how much we love the original Evangelion.
Right, even though not everyone else loves it all, but we do. So.
Yep. Our point we make repeatedly is you don't have to love it, but you got to respect what it was. There's a reason why people like us keep talking about it.
Right. So it's apparently like over like 2.5 hours long. It's like
I mean, look at on the Wikipedia. It says runtime theatrical edition of the whole thing 556 minutes.
Oh, for all of them combined.
Yeah. Uncut edition, 309 minutes, but it's ongoing. So
how many? What's the combined minutes of the 26 episode TV series?
That 24 times 26.
See, 20
comparable.
It's like 624. Yeah, it's almost as long as watching the whole TV series.
We watched that in the whole weekend.
It's no surprise that they can fit the same amount of material in there, especially since they don't need like recap-y kind of stuff, right? Because it's movies.
The thing is,
I have been looking forward to watching all those for like a decade, good or bad. I'm just not doing it. Like same with DuckTales, not doing it till it's all.
I have too, just because I enjoy the what Evangelion was, and I want to see if they add more to it, like if there's more to take away from this compared to the original.
Yeah, I imagine I'll still come out of it thinking that the original is the original, and this is just some other deal. But it's still interesting to see how they do differently, what they thought needed changing, what they, if there's any, they could reveal information that is true of the original, right, in this remake, even though it's a different timeline situation sort of
Well,
thing.
the manga kind of did that. One thing is, if you were seeking to engage more with what the original anime did, like if you wanted just to go deeper on those themes, you can't really go much better than the manga. The Evangelion manga is fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even read it all because it was coming out so slowly. I read a bunch of it, and I had like it's near the top of my queue to read that entire manga start to finish.
Yep. So let's talk about the thing we talked about in the news, which is
BELLE.
the new Hosoda movie, right? So Mamoru Hosoda, right? Summer Wars,
Yep.
Boy and the Beast, right? You know, Wolf Children.
Batting
you know,
1,000.
Right. It's not all of these movies are like S tier, but none of them are bad.
They're all A at least.
Yeah, they're all like pretty good.
I think Summer Wars might be S tier. Summer Wars was
Summer
just
Wars is, I think, S tier. Yeah,
like what a
that's
chef kiss.
Definitely my favorite of them, for sure.
What I'm excited about with BELLE is that it's going deep into that same kind of world where everyone is online and like the Uber MMO / social network to rule them all.
Something like that. The only thing we know about this, right, is what the imagery that we've seen in this trailer and the preview image, which is also part of the trailer, and it's like it gives you some, not Hosoda vibes from Summer Wars. It also gives me some Satoshi Kon like Paprika kind of vibes, and it's just like like this, creating some sort of stunning, fantastical world, right? I saw Mirai was also a Hosoda movie, right? That's a good. I think you can just watch Mirai on Netflix now.
Mirai was great.
It's on some of the streaming service. I don't know which ones.
Yeah. But the Japanese title of this one is The Dragon and the Freckled Princess.
Ooh, interesting.
It's definitely if you look at the teaser, there's big Beauty and the Beast vibes, and there's like
definitely some sort of fantasy element mixed in with this sort of somewhat vaguely utopian.
Like the main character meets this like dragon person online as best we can see. There's something about like the studio said something to the effect of the show is about interspecies communication. And we don't know anything else about it.
No, it gives me a little bit of, just the vibes I get from what we've seen is a little bit of Lapita, but not Lapita in the sense of, people uncovering some, lost thing, but like that lost civilization in the sky at its height.
Yep.
Right. And you're seeing what's happening there, which is what I always want to see. I always ask for that.
Yeah, I get.
Don't give me the story of the ruined kingdom, right? Show me the kingdom when it was the best, awesome kingdom.
But then that story is likely going to be, and it falls into ruin.
No, how about the awesome kingdom becomes awesomer?
From one frame, there's definitely a sea of people basically adding the dragon, telling them that they don't have any reason to exist.
Oh,
it looks like it's fairly existential, and from what little we've seen, the animation just looks beautiful.
All right.
Let's see. I am still. So, does a Disney movie come in like imminently? Raya and the Last Dragon.
Okay, I haven't heard about that till you mentioned it earlier today. So tell me about it.
So it looks like a standard like Disney movie, but the thing that looks really cool about it is it looks like it's about a woman who like meets a dragon who might be the last dragon, like Dragonheart style. But the dragon's character design looks really fun. Like the dragon looks a lot more like a dragon from like a My Little Pony type world, but 3D CG.
Is it going to be like Aladdin Genie kind of dragon?
It's more like the dragon. She is just not that good at being a dragon and trying not to get killed by people.
So a combination of,
but also full size.
And Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, I get both of those vibes combined.
So much dragon action.
There's a lot of dragon action right now.
There's not a lot you can do with dragons. You got to be pretty good to.
Well, I mean, we had wolf, like hot wolf men was the theme for a while now, and now we're edging into dragon action. We got the dragon in BELLE. We got the dragon in this.
We really need someone to go. We've seen there's owls, right? There's that whole series of movies. I haven't watched any of them, like the Gahul or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I know those exist.
Scott, there is a big owl thing. You've got to watch the Owl House.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like we have owl things.
Yeah, we do.
have dragon things. We have wolf things. Right? We need some other animal action, right? We've have some insect things. There's like ants and bugs, and there's some fish things. We got Nemo. But there are so many animals.
Chicken Run. We had a lot of farm animal stuff over the years.
Right, we got dogs and cats are covered, right? Yep. Let's see we got Bambi. Kind of animal.
Horses and ponies have had their day.
Birds. Is there like a
Ducks,
bird-focused
DuckTales.
thing? That's a duck thing.
There's been a duck thing.
Every animal been turned into a thing, and I just keep thinking there's a jellyfish. The jellyfish show.
Princess Jellyfish.
It's a penguin thing, but there's no. Princess Jellyfish is not about jellyfish.
It's about aliens that, anyway.
I'm talking about literal, something about literal jellyfish. The same way that, Bambi is about deer. Make a story about jellyfish.
They're adjacent in Ponyo, arguably, because of what Ponyo's about.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, fine. There's no animals left to go on.
Oh, the listener came through. Capybaras deserve feature films.
There you go.
I want to see a slice of life anime that is just capybaras chilling and solving problems for their community.
This is actually a pretty good, like, almost Jackbox game where it's like name an animal, then you got to name an artwork in which that animal appears.
Ooh. Then you do the chain, and the next person has to name a different animal that's in that artwork, and then the next person has to name a different artwork that has that next animal.
Ooh.
That's a real good chain game.
All right, so I'll start with like,
Come on, Babe.
Well, Babe has a pig in it.
All right.
And Babe also has, I guess there must be a cow in there somewhere. It's a farm, right?
Are you 100% sure?
No. I haven't seen Babe in 100 years. I saw it one time.
We need a mechanic where you can challenge the person.
Also, in my brain, right, it's like, Babe and
Charlotte's Web
occupy a lot of the same space. Obviously, the final scene with like some pig written on the web is Charlotte's Web, but the entire rest of the story in both of those is merged, other than the ending and the presence of the spider. The spider parts are clearly in the Charlotte's Web zone. All the rest of the parts of both of those things are combined into one brain space.
So,
all right.
There's probably a ton of things we didn't even talk about, but there's also all the things that are just continuing that we've watched some of that we want to watch more of. And I think I realized I tried to stack rank, and it was actually hard to stack rank for myself of all the animation I'm watching that is currently paused, which one I want most. I think
Adventure Time movies, right? Because we're doing GeekNights episodes on those. I'm watching those immediately if they appear.
But I had
what else?
What am I looking forward to more? The next Adventure Time, which is Peppermint Butler going to wizard school, which puts it way up there.
I'm thinking, what can possibly beat that unless
for me personally, Castle Vassal.
I like the Castle Vassal a lot, but I don't think it beats Peppermint Butler going to wizard.
I think this might be a Raymond Scott because for me, Castlevania digs back to the first anime I ever saw. The thing that got me.
You are a vampire person. That's true.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter D was is probably the reason I live here today. It set me on the course that put me in front of this microphone.
There is no question that the day that Castlevania season drops on Netflix, I will watch all of it.
Yeah.
Right. There is no question whatsoever. Right. And this is someone who puts everything in the queue. Right.
That is true.
It's true, right? But at the same time, there is no question that if the Peppermint Butler drops, right, I'll be watching that on the same day. Right,
yep.
That I can pirate.
I might interrupt whatever it is I'm doing.
I might have an HBO Max subscription even, or who knows.
Yep.
But if they were to drop on the same day, and I finish my work and it's time to go watch, I'm going to watch P-Butt first.
Fuck. I realized I would too, but only because P-Butt is just one thing, and then I can binge on all of Castlevania uninterrupted because there's a whole ass season of that coming.
If they drop on a Saturday morning and I have all fucking day,
they're all getting watched.
I'm watching P-Butt first, and then I'm watching right?
But right up there is season 2 of Beastars.
Season 2 Beastars is up there. I don't know if I would watch that immediately, but I would watch it quickly.
I would watch it immediately, but the first episode, but then I do the thing of just watch an episode a week to try to drag it out.
Okay, there are some other things that just Dragon Prince, which I haven't even watched.
I was about to mention that. Dragon Prince is the only thing of the things we haven't talked about yet that's higher on my list than Dragon Prince is more of the Owl House.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Owl House.
It's in the queue. Take Gravity Falls and make it just better and darker.
Owl House in the queue.
And funnier.
I like what's going on there with the owl, but
Yeah, and I know I probably misrepresent how much Hootie features in the Owl House. Hootie is a bit side character.
I'm aware that Hootie is a bit side character because I can see from the screenshots and gifs that Hootie is attached to a door and therefore would only appear in the show when the show is in that house or the owl house.
Pretty much, and I feel like that is very
important. I imagine a lot of the show takes place not at the I guess what's the word?
The Owl House. It's called the Owl House. The house is called the Owl House.
The word for when some eponymous owl house.
Nope,
that's the word.
Nominative determinism for the eponymous Owl House.
That's right.
But I'm actually real excited about Dragon Prince, not just because there's more of it, because I really like it, but because they committed. It wasn't just announced, oh, they're going to make another season. They're going to make all the seasons, as in the original creative vision of what Dragon Prince was supposed to be will complete. So I don't have to worry about season nonsense. The whole story is going to get told. And honestly, where it ended was a real interesting point. Like, it escalated rapidly, and if there's going to be this many more seasons, this is like the big epic fantasy that I'm here for.
Some other things just want to mention, right? So One Punch Man had a second season. I've only seen the first, but the manga keeps going. So you have to imagine at some point something that popular is going to get all of it will be animated, right? They're not just going to stop. They could, I guess. There have been other anime series like Hajime no Ippo. They didn't animate the whole manga. They just sort of animated a bunch of it and stopped, and that was it. But if they make more One Punch Man, I'm looking forward to that. I don't think any has been announced. Similar thing with the Yoapedal, right? Yoapedal, they animated a whole bunch of the manga, and then they just stopped. I don't know if they're waiting for more manga or if they're just not going to make any more of anime, and you just got to read the manga to get the rest of the story. But if there was more Yoapedal anime, I would watch that also. It just hasn't come, or it won't come. Who knows?
So one thing I don't think you've really watched much of it, but Disenchanted, that Matt Groening show, that the reviews, the fantasy one. Netflix, right? Yeah, the reviews across the board.
I know it exists.
It's okay. Like, it's all right. It's not great, but it's not bad. But I'm watching it now, partly because we got through the queue of all the other animation we wanted to watch. And the thing I want to say about it is that I'm actually really looking forward to a fourth season. I don't even know for sure if there will be a fourth season. I assume there will, because I
guess the third season you just watched did not end it.
So we're near. We have like 2 more episodes to go in the third season, and
so it could end.
So here's the thing. You know those episodes in Evangelion, like near the end, where like the pacing gets really weird, like the show just really slows down and zooms in.
Yeah.
The Disenchanted kind of did that, like near the end of the third season. Like, there's a couple episodes where like the pacing gets really, really atypical and odd and slow, and it feels like it's doing something. Like, it feels like the show's gonna try to be more than it appeared to be, and I'm intrigued by this.
Okay.
It's also like pretty funny. Like, it's a slow burn funny. Like, it feels very like, okay, it's just Futurama humor, but as it goes on, it kind of builds on itself, and King Zog just gets funnier and funnier and funnier, and I cannot get over that character.
Okay, well, I can't think of any more. I'm sure there's plenty of other animation in the world that is being made now, announced and unannounced, that I'm very interested in and simply unaware of. Like, Studio Trigger's probably working on something.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, the listener comes through. Supposedly there are 6 intended seasons for Disenchanted.
Very nice.
There's just no date yet for season 4.
Makoto Shinkai's probably working on something again.
I assume he is.
Just released something, right? There's stuff coming. We just don't know about it yet, or whatever. Or I just personally don't know about it yet, even though it might be public. So if you know of other animations works from anywhere in the world that you're looking forward to, you should let us know.
Yeah.
And, so we don't miss them.
We'll put them in the hopper, because for like 5 years now, we've just been living in this golden age of amazing animation, and it doesn't seem like that train is slowing down at all.
Thankfully not. So I'm going to go eat dinner.
I smell some food in there. I'm like salivating right now.
Okay, bye.
All right. Yep, upload the stuff later.